Dustin.
What's up, Boober?
I have had, I don't know, certainly in the past, by the time this airs, COVID. That's how I spent my weekend.
Fun.
Yeah, it was great. No, my daughter had strep, and for a couple of days, and she was talking about how much it sucked. And I was like, I prefer sore throats to other illnesses.
Okay.
Like I don't like stomach stuff. I certainly don't like shingles, but sore throat is fine.
Sure.
And I said something like, if I could take a magic pill that made me get sore throat 3 times as often, but I don't get any other illnesses, I'd gladly take it.
Okay.
And like 2 days later, I got a sore throat, and I was like, oh,
I hate this.
And so I was like, well, no, it's still okay. But I was like, oh, well, it serves me right. And also my daughter has strep. So, but it was the headache too. And I was talking to my wife about it. She goes, you should take a test. And the stupid strip lit up immediately. And I was like, wow. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, COVID. Okay.
Oh, wow.
COVID-19.
Yep.
So after about 4 years of evading this virus, it finally got me.
There you go.
And so luckily it's just been uncomfortable. Nothing terrible. So I'd shown a light into the back of my throat, and it looked horrifying.
Oof. Oof.
It's just like covered in sores.
Yep.
It's like, It looks like Wickus von der Merwe's arm in the early stages of his transformation. Yeah, but mostly just headache. The first day was some bad body aches. I was like, oh man, but that was only a day of the bad body aches. But still, I was like, oh boy. Just hobbling around. I was like, oh, I think I'm just cold. And then I stood up and walked. I was like, no.
Right.
That's why I took the test. It was body ache and headache. And then it was the next morning where I woke up with the sore throat in earnest. So anyways, it's been okay.
I hate sore throats. I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
I just don't mind it. I maybe as a person with asthma, for me, it's just like, considering I could be gasping for air or vomiting, I'm fine with my throat hurting.
Sure.
Especially because like I currently time restrict my eating. So I don't spend a lot of the day going, oh, I wish I could eat, but I can't because my throat hurts. I literally just poured hot coffee down my throat until noon every day.
Sure. Yep.
Which may not be necessarily great for the sores, but for me, I was like, oh, it feels kind of nice.
Sure.
So
well, no, I had a lot of like strep when I was a kid, and it was one of those things where like I felt like I got it several times a year. Yeah. And it was just one of those things.
Me
like
too.
I just grew to hate it. Like I was like, I hate everything about this.
I think I had the opposite. Because it was the same for me, and I just got used to it. I was like, this is fine.
Sure. I would have it bad, dude. Like whenever I had strep, it was more like the flu than strep. So I had it bad, and like. I don't know, man.
Did you have your tonsils out?
No, I was on the cusp. Like they were like, yeah, one more time this year, and you're gonna have to get it done. And it held out, and I was like, oh, great. So I got to start this cycle again next year. So
it's my personality just sort of acclimate to discomfort like that. But once I got my tonsils removed, like that was real pain. That was like,
yep,
because that hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then like a year later, I got to watch it done to some other kid. Do you ever do that? Do you ever get to like watch surgery? I know it's a weird question, but it was some academic thing. For some reason at my school, like if you got good grades in like math when you were in 8th grade, you got to witness surgery. I don't know what the connection was. I need to ask somebody about that.
Did you go to a real school?
Yeah, I was raised in a survivalist cult. No, I'm just remembering this. I don't remember what the program was. I don't remember.
Sure.
I don't know anything. I don't remember the circumstances, everybody. I just know that I knew about this thing. And then when we were picked to do it, I was like, oh, hell yeah. This is that thing. And this is where I got to like see stuff. I saw a guy getting a cataract removed from his eye. Like we're just sitting there watching them like poke into his eyeball, and try and drag this thing out. And it's taken forever. And I was like, is this really as simple as that? Not simple, but like, is this really as basic as this is? Like, well, we just make a decision, got to go in there and yank the thing out.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough, but you got to be a little ginger.
Right.
And then like in the middle of the procedure, the guy's like, "Can I have some water?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he's awake." Like, but then I saw some kid get his tonsils taken out. And I watched them cauterize his throat.
Oh Lord.
And so among other thoughts I was having, it was like, oh, that's why it hurts so bad when you wake up.
Yeah.
Someone took a cow brand. Just I was like, oh geez. Anyway,
no, not for me.
Saw a couple other things. Can't remember what it was, but sorry. Having a flashback there.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld where they go and watch the surgery and Kramer takes the junior mint.
The junior mint, yeah. Yep. No, we were safely back.
Okay. I have never done that, and I don't think I ever will.
Because
if somebody asks me to, the answer is no.
As an adult, like the prospect of like, is he asleep? Okay. All right, bring in the children, bring in the kids to watch us do this, like doesn't sit well with me.
Sure.
No.
For me, it's just like, I prefer this to be a mystery, that I just go, ow, tonsils. And they go, we'll take care of it. And then I wake up and I'm like, cool, tonsils gone.
You know what?
No thought to how.
I even would like it if they would not tell me when it's happening. It's like those. It's like when it's
like
movies,
a ninja sneaks up on you.
Well, it's like they tell me like, I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know what. I want to know when it's coming. Like you tell people to like organize a hit on you or something. It's just like sometime in the next 3 weeks probably. Yeah. And then you don't realize it, but you just get chloroformed in your house. Yes. And then you wake up in the hospital and your tonsils are gone. You're like,
who was it on The Sopranos? Was it Bobby?
It was Bobby.
Who did that?
Bobby did that for a rapper.
Yeah. I don't want to know when it was.
Yeah. He doesn't.
Or I don't know when it's coming. Just go.
But then the guy stiffs him or something with money. So he shoots him in the ass.
Yep.
It's supposed to be you know what? I remember the name of that episode because of what Bobby said. Do you remember the name of that episode? I don't do this often.
I don't.
The fleshy part of the thigh. Because that's where he says he wants to be shot.
Yeah, in the fleshy part of the
fleshy
thigh.
Part of the thigh.
Yep.
Sweet. All right. Well, speaking of flesh, let's talk about Marvel.
I don't understand the connection.
Yeah. Help. The connection is there is no flesh at all in What If.
Okay.
Because it's animated.
All animated.
This kid puts on quite a show.
I have eyes on the target. He does not look all that threatening.
Looks can be deceiving, Your Highness.
Are you sure you do not want any backup?
Nah, I'm great with kids.
You thought the story was over. But it was only just beginning. I don't do sequels, normally. But things have gotten a little twisted in the multiverse.
Who is this handsome dog?
I've been looking for you for a long time. Time. Just be careful. I don't think I can bear to narrate what might happen next.
tower's been overtaken.
On Christmas? What is this, Con Air? No, wait, Under Siege? No. Oh, that's not it.
Hey, John McClane, focus!
So I figured we would just do a quick catch up. We're here to talk about the Marvels, but there's been a couple things. What was the last Marvel thing we talked about? Secret Invasion? Was that me?
Yeah, I guess so. Which you watched and I did not.
Yeah, and I wish I could switch lives with you and not have watched it.
Yes.
So what if I believe came after that? I don't have much to say about What If. It's here we go again. You know, it's season 2. It's another 9 episodes on Disney Plus. It dropped in December. I think they did this one. This was a daily episode drop. Like it started on the 22nd. And they gave just one every day through like the 30th or something.
Sure.
And it's the same kind of thing as What If season 1 was.
Sure.
This is all to say that, you know, in terms of like, would I recommend this to people? If you're more like Dustin, where it wasn't your thing, it's going to be the same kind of thing. We got 9 episodes. We got characters. We got people doing alternate things. We've got a little more, I don't want to say a little more cohesion, but like it doesn't take us till like the back half of the season for people to show up again or for stuff to start to connect. But it's not the same kind of thing as in the first season where everyone gets together and we have the Guardians of the Multiverse. We're going to fight Ultron. Sure. Yep. There's a lot more Peggy Carter in this season, a couple of times, which is fine, but we have some other cool characters. We have what I believe to be that Tony Stark and Gamora episode that they didn't finish in time or whatever in the first season. And then inexplicably they plucked Gamora into the season finale. And it's like, wait, we never saw Gamora. And it's like, that episode is here. And it's a great episode, actually.
Okay.
Tony Stark gets at the end of the Avengers. He doesn't make it back through the wormhole before it closes. And so he ends up crash landing on Sakaar, where Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster is. And he meets, and then there's Gamora and Korg and Topaz and Valkyrie and all that, you know, and it's actually a really good episode. The one before that, I really, really love. It's called What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas? And it's basically Die Hard with Happy Hogan.
Okay.
He turns into a Hulk at one point. It's just, there's some fun stuff here. So sure. I continue to contend that What If is fun. And it's, you know, it's just some good entertainment. And I at least really enjoy the animation style and the action within the animation. I think that the show tends to be nice and quick too. And play with stuff that they're not ready to play with in the live action movies or would be ill suited to live action. So I still think that this is a fun show and I'm always satisfied. Whenever the episode's always done, I'm always like, oh, it was cool.
Yeah.
So I liked What If season 2.
Okay.
And I think there's a 3rd season coming, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Maya.
All right. The next thing that happened was Echo.
I see everything that you are. I always have. Don't be afraid. So much pain in you. So much rage. That you can't contain it. You and I
are the same. So, who's the monster?
5 episodes. This is starring Alaqua Cox, a lot of indigenous actors. So I'll try my best with their names. Chaskey Spencer, Tantu Cardinal. We've also got appearances by other people I don't want to spoil necessarily. And then there's Zahn McLaren, Cody Lightning, and I'll say Vincent D'Onofrio. He's in the trailer. So Echo is essentially about, the character Echo, Maya Lopez, that you would have seen in the Hawkeye TV show. And so Alaqua Cox is back, and she goes home to Oklahoma to solve some stuff there, basically. Some of it's past stuff, family stuff, but then there's Kingpin stuff. We've got flashes all over the place. We've got some of her childhood. We've got some of her early time working for Wilson Fisk. We've got stuff in the present day. And then, other stuff. So anyway, there's that. I don't want to say too much because it's only 5 episodes, so I don't want to get into the plot really. As I'm watching the show, I'm taking notes and I'm just sort of saying, I don't really care about these characters that much outside of Maya and Fisk, just inherently. But I really enjoyed the early and middle action sequences in this show. This is what I wanted from street level hero stories. I wanted wide shots and long takes of compelling action choreography. I think Alaqua Cox is very athletic, and I think she really has screen presence in those sequences, and she's believable to me as this character physically. In contrast to God lover Scarlett Johansson, who I absolutely love, but I could never accept her as like a physical force, even though I knew her to be a committed student of the stunt work. And I know they tried with her choreography to make it into the things that don't leverage size. Like stuff like jujitsu and stuff like that doesn't really matter how big you are. It's all about technique, but it's like there were some things they'd have her doing. I'm just like, okay, but she's like 5'2" and she's kind of petite. I don't know. Alaqua Cox, I'm not sure how tall she is, but she's at least average height, if not taller. Like I believe that when she punches a man in the face that she could drop him. So that counts for something. So, however, though, the ending is basically just random powers happening, which is less interesting to me than Maya is as a person and as a character up to this point. I think it's really good to have a show like this for representation and inclusion. You've clearly got, a big milestone here for deaf actors. You've got a big milestone for, Alaqua Cox is an inclusion like hat trick here. Alaqua Cox is deaf. She's indigenous and she's an amputee. She's missing, she's for real missing her lower leg. So for her to be so charismatic and powerful and virtuous, I say virtuous. She hurts people, but I mean like powerful for a purpose. That's somewhat related to her heritage and her hometown. Like that's a powerful message. I just think that becomes the main like takeaway of the show more than it is this character. So it's not like a bad thing. It's just like, I think that take that away and it's just a much less interesting show. So I would say if you're a Marvel fan and you accept that all of this somehow matters to watch, then it's not a big commitment. But I tend to look back at things and go, okay, it's not that I didn't enjoy it, but would I consider it a chore to rewatch this? And I would consider it a chore to rewatch this. Like there'd be moments I'd be looking forward to, like this really awesome fight in a bowling alley or a skating rink. But for most of the show, I'd be sitting there going like, all right, okay, and so that's kind of a problem. So I don't know. So that's Echo. All right. Just wanted to catch everyone up to those because I know Dustin didn't watch those.
I did not.
So let's talk about the Marvels.
Carol Danvers, prodigal child of the Milky Way.
Nick Fury, my favorite one-eyed man of intrigue.
How goes it out there?
Cold, no air, space.
Captain Marvel, the Annihilator. You took everything from me. And now I'm returning the favor.
What is happening to me?
She's entangled our light-based powers, so we switch places whenever we use them.
Strong theory.
You can absorb light. I can see it. And Kamala...
Who's Kamala?
Hi. She can turn light into physical matter, which I have never heard of.
I could totally show you.
No!
She's targeting every planet we call home. I would never choose to bring anybody into this.
You are not the only thing standing between this and the universe.
Oh my god, we're a team.
Higher.
Further. Faster.
Who's a good kitty goose?
I can't. Can you?
I got it.
I had no intention of watching this either.
Sure, but you got bored and you.
But I got bored and needed something to put on while I
pass the
emailed
time.
things. Yeah.
I knew that this was going to be dropping on Disney Plus, and so I put it on my calendar to watch it because I told myself that like once I stopped going to the theaters, it was like I'll have to catch these on Disney Plus now.
Yep.
And so I knew it was coming, and I knew that when it came, I'd check it out. So here I was watching the Marvels this weekend, and all right, so this is the sequel to Captain Marvel. This is the 33rd film in the MCU, co-written and directed by Nia DaCosta. We've also got Megan McDonnell and Alyssa Karasik here on the screenplay. All right, so we've got Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, Iman Vellani, Zoe Ashton, Gary Lewis, Park Seo-joon, Samuel L. Jackson, and others. So in this story, you have not only Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel here, you've got Monica Rambeau showing back up after WandaVision, and you've got Kamala Khan showing back up after Ms. Marvel, which was like the direct sequel or the direct prequel to this movie, basically.
Yeah.
And like the events of this film begin with the events at the end of that. So, so in this story,
and I never saw that either.
Right. And I thought that was one of those shows where I was like, oh, this is cool. Same as Echo, like really cool for representation. I really like our lead. I just don't care for this particular storyline. I'm glad we're filming in Karachi and, showing all of these, Pakistani, Indian characters and actors, but take that away and I'm not that interested in this show. So in this story, Carol Danvers is kind of on her own, just out in space, keeping an eye on stuff, basically. Monica Rambeau is an astronaut for Sabre, and she's up in space fixing stuff. And Kamala Khan, I keep saying Kamala because of the vice president. All right, hold on. That's my medicine.
Oh my gosh, take your medicine.
Oh my God.
Oh no. If I don't forget this, I'll forget everything.
Oh, take your pills, everyone. Don't forget to take your medicine.
Take your medicine. 1, 2, 3.
It's oh Jesus! Dropped the cap. I almost spilled my.
It's because you're late on your medicine.
Spilled my SSRIs all over the place. Kamala Khan is a teenager and doing her thing in New Jersey, right?
Mm-hmm.
The three of them inexplicably start switching places whenever they use their powers. So this leads to like immediate action sequences because bad guys show up at all three places, pretty much where they are. The three of them kind of meet back up, which is awkward for Carol because she has not seen Monica Rambeau since she was a child, and there's awkwardness there and hurt between the two of them. And Kamala Khan is like a massive super fan of Captain Marvel. So she's, for her, it's like it's meeting your heroes. And that's the dynamic that she kind of has with the two of them. And Nick Fury and all things Avengers. This happens because the villain, Zoe Ashton, is like pilfering resources from other planets so that she can save her own dying planet, her own dying solar system.
Yep.
And she's doing it with a plot device. But the plot device, for those who did watch Ms. Marvel, it's still explained in this movie, but the other, wristband, what do you want to call it? I don't want to call it.
I think they call it a bangle.
Yeah, it's a bangle. Sorry, wristband. Like you're at a nightclub.
It's a wristband.
Or Disney.
It's a paper wristband.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
One of those rubber watches they give you at Disney World.
It says over 21.
Yeah. You come to find out that these things are basically what create the jump points in the universe. And so that explains all the teleporting. So the whole plot is basically about the three of them trying to stop her from and the things that she's doing from happening. And that's the plot. I know I just talked for a really long time about the setup, but to me at least, the reason why is because that to me is the draw of the film, and that to me is one of the things that I enjoyed about the film was that the three leads to me have a lot of chemistry. I think they're a good ensemble. I came away from this movie, I'll just say, since I'm talking, and also because I know it's coming, is that I thought this was a perfectly fine movie. Not great, not terrible. It was just the first time in a while where I actually liked the portrayal of Nick Fury after what Secret Invasion did to him.
Sure.
He was at least felt appropriate here. I liked it leagues ahead of the first Captain Marvel. That's for sure. I think Brie Larson is better here and with a better suited ensemble. And so when it comes to stuff like I would watch this again, whereas I never wanted to see Captain Marvel 1 again. I think this movie succeeded in making me more interested in her as a character. But more than anything else, it was just more fun for me. There's a couple of things. I mean, the villain is terrible in the movie. The villain's horrible, and which is interesting because on Wikipedia, it's like she sought, to research the role. She counseled her fiance, Tom Hiddleston, about playing a Marvel villain.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, then you must have been closing your ears because Loki is like one of the best Marvel villains, and none of that was translated to your character here, ma'am.
Yep.
So, but she's completely uninteresting, underwritten as a character. She's just there for the plot. Sure. The coolest thing about her is I found out that the weapon she uses is called a universal weapon. I thought that was fucking rad. There's a fun sequence for me, at least, with a bunch of the Flurkins, those cats I really hated from Captain Marvel. They do something fun here with them that I thought was hysterical. So that was fun. But don't forget though, the movies do plainly exist to set up stuff again, but I still prefer that to the feeling that the movies don't matter at all in the grand scheme, like to me that they have been lately.
Sure.
This setup of other things is clearly going to somehow connect to Deadpool or Secret Wars or the X-Men.
All of it.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was a lot more of an enjoyable, action-packed, pretty clean-looking adventure movie than we've been getting lately from other Marvel stuff like Echo or Secret Invasion. Those are things that just look cheap. It felt comfortable to relax and have fun for once. And I don't know. So again, I'm middle of the road on it. I was expecting not great things. I kind of got just sort of, oh, cool. You know, I'm glad it was less than 2 hours. So it's more that it's not that it did anything necessarily right beyond the leads. It just refrained from making gigantic mistakes that made it unenjoyable for me. But it certainly could have been better in many ways.
Sure.
It's nowhere near the top or even the top middle of the Marvel films. And it does not end their slump. The last good movie that they've made for me is still Guardians 3. So,
yes. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. Anyways, but I saw your star rating, so I know you're not where I am.
I'm not. So I'll just go ahead and get that out of the way. I gave it 1 star. I think that in terms of my MCU list, which I conveniently have on my phone and update as I watch things, I have my bottom 3 movies on the MCU list is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or Ant-Man Quantumania, whatever it's called. I don't even remember. That's what it is. That's the bottom of the bottom. Right above that is Captain Marvel, the first one. And right above that is the Marvels. So
wow, you hated Ant-Man worse than Captain Marvel 1?
Yes, I hate Ant-Man. Ant-Man's legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen in a theater. It may in fact be the worst movie I've ever seen in a theater.
Wow.
I hated it so much. I don't know. I'm not going to get off on that.
We have an episode on that if people want to hear it.
There is a full diatribe, like an entire discourse.
There's a long episode about Ant-Man.
Why that movie's awful. And I stand by it. I have not cooled on that. It is an awful movie. This is better. But here's kind of why I think it's above the first Captain Marvel. Even if it's just above, is the first Captain Marvel came out at a time where the MCU was kind of in a hot streak. And so you feel like all of this is great. It's leading to something. I'm invested. And then there's like this weird aside and you're like, oh, cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like it like at that time, it was the worst one.
I don't care
because I don't care about this character. She's too new and too powerful and too like the savior of the MCU. And it's just not earned in any way. And I think that they kind of understood that probably wasn't the way to go. So they really didn't utilize her in Endgame the way that, because you have to remember when Captain Marvel came out, we all assumed she was going to come in and like save the day. And that was the assumption. And so you're in the back of your brain is always like, they're just going to like Deus Ex Machina this whole thing by having her here.
Right.
And so in hindsight, that problem goes away because, you know, we know that wasn't the case. She didn't just come in and wipe everybody out like we thought she might. But the movie itself is still just not great. This movie is in a different place. This movie is coming out when Marvel is on a cold streak.
Yeah.
This is not a good time for Marvel. And so it could have been a very easy slam dunk for Marvel had they done something that even I think was on par with the last one. I think you would have at least said like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. Like it's middle of the road because you're in the middle of this nothingness. But instead, like for me, what it was just kind of like more of this meandering I don't really truly care about these characters kind of thing. And not me. I'm not saying me, the audience. I'm saying the writers seem to not care about the characters. They are devices utilized in propelling a story that matters more than the characters. And to me, that's the wrong move.
Yeah.
And we've talked before about how Marvel is lacking a central figure the way that Iron Man was in that first Infinity Saga. It's like Iron Man was like your through character, and like Captain America to a lesser extent, but like those characters were your jumping in point. And post Infinity War or post Endgame, there's not that. So you kind of feel lost, but this could have been a really good way to set something up. Like at this point, I would have accepted a Captain Marvel led MCU if they had gone that way. But all that to say, I found the movie lacking like in anything of substance, even like with the small degree of expectations that I had, which is like, this just has to be better than Ant-Man. This just has to be better than like the junk that's been coming out, Love and Thunder. Like it's just got to be a little bit better than that. And I don't, while it was better than Quantumania, it wasn't as good as Love and Thunder, I don't think. But like for me, and I don't like Love and Thunder, but for me, I think one of the main things that puts it a little bit above is that I just don't care as much. I'm not as heated about it. So like that's the whole point in like taking that aside until where they came out. Because when the original Marvels came out, or when the original Captain Marvel came out, you want it to be good. You expect it to be good. Mm-hmm. When this one comes out, you don't expect it to be good, and it's not good. And so it's just one of those things where like, I'm not disappointed. I'm not angry the way that I was the first time around, because it's just nothing. Like there is nothing to this universe anymore. And this is more nothing. And so I'm not mad. I didn't think about turning it off. I thought about like, okay, this just exists and it's just nothing. And, but I do want to talk about a few things that I liked. One, the runtime. It's a short movie. That's great. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that like, oh, it's a bad movie, so I'm good to take it short. I'm saying like a good short movie sometimes is like good.
A step in the right direction. Like exactly. One of the things the movie could have done worse has been overlong.
Yeah. Give me a tight, like, story that, is self-contained and I'm happy. So that's great. What Iman Vellani does is great. Like I think she's a great performer, and she brings a certain level of energy to this film and to the MCU that's been lacking.
Yeah.
And passion, right? Because like when the MCU started, it's clear that all of these actors really were passionate about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And over time, it feels to me that there's more like obligation than passion.
In.
Yeah, they're clocking in, doing their thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just obligated to it at this point contractually. I don't actually want to be here. But Iman Vellani wants to be there. And so to me, her performance, her energy, her vibe, if you will, harkens back to the original films. And that's a really good thing.
Her casting in this role is among one of those really great matches that reminds you of, I don't want people to read into this sentence, but it reminds you of how well suited Robert Downey Jr. was to Tony Stark.
Sure.
Like he was, once people saw the movie, they realized like, oh, he's perfect. He is this character, and all of the tendencies and mannerisms and witticisms of this character are natural to his personality already. Yep. It makes it a character actor kind of role, and not so much versus a dramatic role that you add some weirdness to. It's like, it's a strange role that you add weight to. Kamala Khan, I mean, and Iman Vellani are like the same person. It's if you watch like the making of Ms. Marvel or whatever, you see like her audition tape and stuff, and they talk about casting her and how it was one of those things where you just go like, this person is so synonymous with the role. Like they don't even have to be a character. Like they just are this person.
Yep.
And it helps that she's not just well suited to an excited kid. Like she holds down her dramatic scenes really well.
Yeah.
Her comedic timing is good. And And yeah, I get the impression that she's actually enjoying herself.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yeah, totally. I also liked Nick Fury in this. I think that, I didn't see Secret Invasion, but I know that a lot of people had issues with him in that.
Mhm.
But I thought Samuel L. Jackson was good in this. Like it felt like Nick Fury. Like Nick Fury's always been like, I don't want to say he's the comic relief because he's not, but he's always had like this dry, like sarcastic wit.
Yeah.
And this kind of like laissez-faire attitude about the whole thing.
Mhm.
That's like, man, I'm smarter than you. I don't need to talk to you, whatever. And like that attitude, like I think back to the first Avengers when he's like meeting with all the people. I don't know what that was.
World Security Council.
Yeah. He's talking to all those people and he's just like, man, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like, y'all just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And it's like that's Nick Fury and that's cool. Like, I'm just going to do my thing. And he feels like that here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I don't remember the last time I saw Nick Fury in anything, but like, was it Far From Home?
It would have been
maybe?
like Far From Home.
Yeah. So I thought he was good in that. Now, I, again, haven't seen Secret Invasion, but from what I hear, that was kind of like a misstep in his characterization. But for me, this feels like Nick Fury. So it's not, if that's the case with Secret Invasion, that's not Sam Jackson's fault. Because he's clearly still able to play this character. So there you go. That's about it. I don't know that I can really talk about much else that I liked. So I'm just going to leave it there. As far as things that I don't like, well, there's a lot of them. We'll get into spoilers maybe in a minute, but for now, I'll just say I felt like the film did feel a little rushed. There's essentially three protagonists, and I think that the film would have been better suited with just one and some supporting characters, as opposed to trying some weird triple protagonist thing that didn't quite land for me. The villain, like you said, forgettable. I don't even want to say it was her fault. Like, there's just nothing there written on the page.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any way you can elevate that. Like, you could put anybody in that role. You put Meryl Streep in that role, and it's not going to be elevated. It's just tough.
I don't
like
know.
That,
I bet Meryl Streep could have done.
She probably could. But
I really like Meryl Streep.
Yeah, she's great. But like it's just a tough role for an actor.
Yeah.
Because there's just nothing to it. Essentially, it amounts to, I want to take care of my people, so I'm going to destroy other people to take care of my people.
Right.
Okay, that's fine, but there's really nothing more to it.
Yeah.
And again, there's just nothing else on the page, so there's nothing else that actress could have really done.
Just a piece on a chessboard.
Yeah, you just exist to be an obstacle to the triple protagonists, and that's all.
Yeah.
But we're not going to bother to make you a likable or like a character that we want to see again.
Versus,
and that sucks.
Versus, like, we mentioned Loki. Like, Loki is a very complex character, and everything he does has like this complicated, nuanced human drama to it. Like, why would you betray your king? Why would you hurt your brother? You know, like all this stuff. But like for her, it's not like, it's just straightforward. I must protect my people, so I have to hurt those people. And that's it. And I'll have one scene where I feel bad about it, kind of. Yeah,
I was going to say, like, more of that would have been nice if it was like, watching her be upset about what she has to do or feel the weight put on her by her people. Like the pressure of that.
Her parents, maybe she recently took the throne, like, from her dying father. And he was always like, you were always such a disappointment. You could never do what had to be done.
Yeah,
you must make the hard choice. You're too compassionate. And then he dies.
It dies.
And so the whole time she's like, I will take care of our people, Father, whatever it takes.
Yep.
And then she learns, no, like, there are some things you shouldn't do even to save other people.
Or you just have like, you're the general population and they're really devolving into like animalistic like barbarianism, and it's because they don't have the basic necessities. And she knows like she's trying everything she can to stop this from happening. Like we can't become animals here. And then eventually, like the only way, it seems to me, the only way is to provide for them what they need, and that will slow their, de-evolution or whatever the case is. Like just something to put the pressure on her to raise the stakes, because right now the stakes for her are really non-existent. Like we can continue doing what we're doing. It ain't great. We can continue doing what we're doing. But if there was like some sort of ticking clock element, like all the people will die in 3 days if you don't, whatever.
Yeah.
Like something to just like elevate the stakes for her and humanize her, like the psychology behind it.
Yeah. And I think they got hung up on like, well, because of the nature of a solar system deteriorating, the ticking clock is really long term. There is no point where you go from tolerable to intolerable. It's just a slow decay. Is. But they could have been like, maybe their air is not breathable, but the compound we live in, we trapped enough oxygen. And so now we've got 21 days or whatever before we're out of our backup oxygen and we don't have a home or whatever.
That's how you solve it.
Right. And I really feel like the arc I talked about a second ago would have magically, I just thought off the top of my head, that would have been perfect, because that's what the hero needs to learn too. The hero needs to learn that, hey, just because destroying the supreme intelligence needed to happen doesn't mean it was like the right choice because of what happened afterwards. Like, imagine Captain Marvel as president. She goes, hey, I think I want to like kill Saddam Hussein. And, that seems like the right thing to do. Right. And then a general says, right, I agree with you, but if you do that, you're just going to create a power vacuum and there will just be a civil war and the people will suffer.
Sure.
And so then you go, shit. Okay.
Yep.
Damn it. Well, well, what do we do? And to me, like bringing that sort of like complexity to superhero films is good because it reflects our real lives.
Yeah.
Like she just sort of, this character who flies through spaceships decides, hey, I'm just going to go destroy the supreme intelligence because like they took my life from me or whatever. And they did all this bad shit. But to have her not think ahead and think, oh, this could probably be really bad for an entire civilization if I do this. Right. I don't remember if they went into whether or not she thought about that or whether or not she just decided it was still better than the supreme intelligence. I don't know. That wasn't really explored. And if you had, it would have made the movie longer. But if you had explored, a toxic dynamic between the villain and her father that was driving her actions and driving her to justify terrible decisions to protect her own people, once she gets to the point where that fails and we're appealing to Carol to fix the problems, that's where you have the both character. You don't want to do exactly this, but you have Tiny Tim stand up and say, it is bad to do bad things for good reasons even. And sometimes it's better to do something else that doesn't solve the thing or whatever. And then the villain and the hero both go, thanks, Tiny Tim.
Yeah, you're right.
And then the villain dies and then the hero goes and fixes things. And
there you go.
That's what should have basically happened.
It's a better arc for sure.
Yeah.
When did the destruction of the Supreme Intelligence happen? Was that in the first Captain Marvel? Or was that in between we never saw?
It's off screen. Yeah. It's alluded to real quick.
I thought I missed something.
No.
I know there was a little flashback where she did it, but I was like, am I supposed to remember that from another something?
No, they just say, oh, by the way, like I destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. And then it was that destruction that caused, I don't know if it actually caused it's what says it leads to civil war on Hala.
Yeah.
Rendering the planet barren as it loses its air, water, and sunlight. Did the Supreme Intelligence control those things?
I guess so. Yeah, it's unclear.
Or is it just a horrible coincidence? Like, oh man, like wish we
just so happened
looked at the farmer's almanac and realized
the radar. Yeah.
the air is going to disappear. Maybe we need the Supreme Intelligence to figure this out first.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was just like, I was so weird because I was like, am I missing something? Am I supposed to remember that? And I couldn't remember if I was supposed to remember it. And then I was like, but Phase 4 had like 87,000 hours of content.
Yeah.
Why are they appealing to something that didn't happen on screen? There's so many hours of content where this could have occurred. The other thing that I'll say that is kind of a negative is like Monica Rambeau. I liked that character a lot from WandaVision and felt like, oh, okay, this is a good character moving forward. I'm invested in you. Like, cool. And then I felt like she was completely wasted here. And was just kind of relegated to like, I'm just going to talk in scenes kind of thing. And that was a problem for me. Even considering the end. So that, I don't know. I guess that's all I can say non-spoilerish. If you want to jump into spoilers really quick, I have a few extra points, but
sure. Let's do that. Let's go into spoilers.
Cool. So I guess just keeping on Monica, this idea of her having to make this sacrifice, I think is a really tacked on kind of ending that I feel like is more of like just set up for something.
Yeah, that feels like Feige and the producers saying, here's how we think the movie can end. And
because this is a problem I have with a lot of movies like
a
this
fixed point in time.
Yeah. So the thing breaks, like they open up a rift in space time or whatever, and we're seeing across the multiverse into whatever. And then they're like, we have to fix it. Well, how do we fix it? Well, you guys release your power into me, and I'm going to go over there and release the power into that. And I'm like, all of this is theoretical. This has never been done before, and you're all acting like it has to happen this way.
Taking a big risk.
None of you know. This is literally like if tomorrow morning somebody came up to me and said, hey, Jupiter just exploded, but if you go up there with your Allen wrench and you turn it 17 times to the left, that should work. And me going with confidence going, okay, cool.
Makes sense.
There's no reason for me to think that that's going to work. Like,
sir, real quick, I just need you to pee in this cup and we can save the world.
Yeah. No, I don't understand. Like, how does this help? And so it's the same thing. Like, I don't understand. Like, you have to make the stakes clear to the audience. Yes. But you also have to make the solution clear to the audience. It has to make logical sense. And the idea of put your power in me and I'll unleash it out in off my fingertips in strands like spider webs. And I've never done this before, but trust me, it'll work. I can't buy that because I'm like, you don't know that. I don't know that. I can't buy into something that I don't not even that I don't understand it. It's that I don't buy it. I can't buy into something I don't buy. It makes no logical sense. That's a problem. That's a big problem for me. And so then the idea of like, well, I have to stay behind. And I think somebody even says, why didn't you close it from the other side or whatever? And I'm like, why didn't you? The whole thing was theoretical. The writer was just making this up. It could have been anything.
It's like one of those sleeping bags that only has the inside zipper.
Right. Well, I'm like,
she could have done it, but she got her arm stuck in there. Oh, I can't get this thing out.
The only analogy I can think is like, okay, you rip a hole in your pants. Yes, sometimes it's good to patch it from the backside. Sure. Like not from the front. Cool. I got it. But like, that's not the only way. It's
so funny for them just to leave like a shitty flannel square in space. It's just, oh yeah, like every time they drive past it, that's where we fixed it. That's where that's the hole in space time.
Yes, correct. I don't know,
Look
man.
Look at that cross stitching. So beautiful.
There's also like the scene where they're all like linked up to that Remember All machine that what's her face has, Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And they're all linked up to it. And I'm like, why are they linked up to this again? They're trying to get images from Kamala's mind, but why do they all have to get linked up? I don't understand.
I think they're all well, they're all on it so Monica can relive her mom's death.
But that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the writer wanted a thing to happen.
Yeah.
So I have to justify it in the story, but it makes no logical sense.
I think it was because they were, honestly, if I had to answer that, I would say I think the intention was we should both try to mine Kamala's memories and see if either of us can understand it. But I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what would happen that Monica may understand more than Carol when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, and I also don't understand, like, even the idea of, like, it only happens for a second, but there's like a second afterwards where Monica's really mad, like, why would you do that, Carol? And she's like, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, she didn't do anything. I guess this has never been done in the history of the world. Like, we don't know. Like, you can't be mad at her. You can't, if you and I linked up right now with the mind thing and I started seeing part of your brain, I wouldn't go, why would you do that? I'd be like, yo, that sucks. I don't want to see your brain, dude.
Why would you show me these things?
You're not doing it. Like, it's just happening because it's a side effect of our minds being linked.
Yeah.
Like, did you not think this might happen?
Did you not think that I would have your intrusive thoughts?
Right. But then this is the other problem is like I heard it said.
She was like, well, Carol, why are you thinking about my mom dying that only I witnessed? It's like,
right.
No, because it's you, bro. You're thinking about it.
Right.
Stop thinking about pink elephants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know, man. There's a lot like that in the movie that's just like the thing has to happen. So we have to conjure up some weird mumbo jumbo to make it happen, but it doesn't really make sense. But it will by the time we're done, but it doesn't. They also never go all the way. And like I heard some other reviews say something like, it was a positive review. It was like, it's good because, these girls do what, male-led stories never do, which is solve problems with emotional intelligence. And their example was this scene, which was, she's mad at Carol, but only for a minute. And then she's like, okay, whatever, like, it's fine. Like, they talk it out. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I'm also like, but the fact that none of these actions carry forward in the story is a problem. Like, that should have been like a chip on the shoulder until the climax. Like, the whole thing should have been like, it's solved so quickly that the first scene sets up like, oh, I'm not ready to talk to her. I'm not ready to talk to her. And then they just talk. And I'm like, I get it that y'all are all emotionally mature and that's great. And that's a great thing. But I'm also just like, but in any story, you must have conflict. And there is no conflict between these three leads.
Yeah, I partially agree with that. I feel like it's fine. I'm fine that it resolved as quickly.
I am too, because something can't.
Because it was such a small thing.
Right.
If they had held that till the climax, we were like, guys, come on.
Yes, exactly.
You're in your 30s,
I agree.
But yeah, because so when Nick Fury is like, you're gonna have to talk to her at some point, she's like, I know. It's like, will you get over it, please? For God's sakes, like, you're in space, you have powers. What they should have done was whatever it was, it should have been a bigger deal.
A revelation.
Or something.
She's not even my daughter.
Like, maybe she's about, maybe she's about to, like, maybe the scene happens and they are solving this. And then she's like, oh, and also, like, I took your mom off my health insurance or some weird shit. It's my fault that she didn't get the care she needed. And it's like, wait, what is that? Whoa. Okay. Well, then we're totally not cool again.
Right.
Something like that.
Yep.
My health insurance.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but I guess, I mean, the thing is, you have to have conflict between these three leads, and there's like scenes of conflict, but there is not an overarching conflict. And in fact, there's like a point going into the third act where they're all like, I'm glad to be here and we're all happy and chummy. And I'm like, well, that's great. I love that. But there has to be one of you that's less on board with this than the other.
Another thing that fits with the arc I thought of, and they sort of did it here. Sometimes I wonder like what was cut out of like drafts of movies, because there's still like residual moments that feel like they should fit something and they don't.
Yep.
When they're on that first planet rescuing everybody and Kamala's trying to save everybody and they're like, we need to go. And she's like, she's devastated. She's like, how can y'all leave these people? And Carol's like, we need to save who we can now. Yeah. And I feel like that should have been more of a thing for
Monica,
for Kamala to be like, but you left people behind. You're Captain Marvel. Like, you know, for a child, at least for both of them, not so much like, oh yeah, Carol, what the fuck? You know, like it should have been one of those moments where it's like, yes, a child does need to learn that you can't save everyone, but a hero does need to hear, maybe she's callous about it or something. She goes, hey, shit happens, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, that would have been something that could have been their thing, you know?
Well, and that's a good idea. And that leads me to think like what the film should have been is Monica comes on as like, I'm really not a big Carol fan right now.
Yeah.
But Kamala is. And over the course of the film becomes not like she's like, you're not that great of a hero. I don't know why I idolized you. Yeah. And there's your drama and there's your art. And then suddenly it's like Carol is forced to reckon with this idea of like, not only have I disappointed my niece essentially, but I've also really disappointed my fan. Mm-hmm. And now I have to like, it completely deconstructs that character and asks her to rebuild herself in a more likable way. Which is what the film needed to do with that character, like, you know, redeem her in the eyes of the audience and redeem her. Like, this is your opportunity to make her grow.
Yeah, and humanize her.
Yeah, exactly. And
this is a character that flies into the sun at the end of the film.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
Like,
but you can even tie that in. You can even tie in the idea of you save who you can kind of a thing. With eventually Monica realizes like, oh, you didn't actually try to save my mom. You left her behind like you left everybody else behind.
Right.
Right. Like it becomes a whole thing where like, this is what you do, Carol. You find something that you can't win and you leave.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you have to at some point realize that you're going to have to fight till you lose.
You're a quitter.
But you're a quitter.
Shit's
That's exactly.
weak.
You're so powerful that you quit when you find something that is stronger than you.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And that's what it should have been. It's a complete deconstruction of who that character is.
The problem with that is that Disney and Marvel don't want to deconstruct Captain Marvel.
Yes. Well, this is true.
They'll let the box office do that for them.
But then you mentioned the sun too, because I do want to talk about this too.
Which, by the way, that very same action killed Richard Madden's character in the Eternals. That's what he does at the end of that film. He flies in the sun to kill himself.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Icarus. Yep.
I guess.
Yep. True.
You're not wearing his. Wow. I almost said, did he not wear his sunscreen?
I feel like that was a problem solved too quickly. There's a moment where somebody said, I think it's Monica says like, you need to fly into the sun and restart it. And I'm like, first of all, again, all theoretical.
She's like, Monica, I'm pretty sure you just want me to kill myself. Are you still mad at me?
Like the number of things that Monica just says you have to do with no scientific backing. Absolute certainty, but no backing whatsoever. Hey, you know what's going to help? Restart the sun.
Yeah.
And I'm still going, well, did taking out the Supreme Intelligence kill the sun? I guess. I don't know.
The sun and the Supreme Intelligence had one of those arrangements where it's like, if I don't check in every 30 days and delay this timer, people don't realize if they take me out, they're going to lose the sun. That's
right.
So,
well, there you go. It's a countermeasure.
It only works if you warn us beforehand that you're going to let the sun die.
Correct. But yeah, man, I was just like, okay, this is all theoretical. And then Carol says, I've never done anything like that. And I'm like, okay, so this is going to be like the big thing. Like eventually, like you look down the road with your screenwriter brain and you go, okay, there's going to be a scene where she's going to be inside the sun and you see her like, unleashing her power. She's hurting. She's like losing control. And there's a moment where maybe she's going to die. That's clearly where you're going with this.
Yeah.
She's going to be inside the sun dying. And then she comes, like she uses up the last bit of her power, falls down to earth, like crashes down, and the other two have to use their powers to help revive her or something. And either she has no powers or she, it's going to take me a while to recover. Right? This is what you do. And instead, what they do is she flies into the sun in this very wide shot, and you just see like the little blip fly into the sun, and then it restarts, and then she flies away. I'm like, oh, so no drama whatsoever.
That worked out.
That's cool. This thing that you've never done before that you're really clearly intimidated by, no problem.
That worked a treat.
Don't worry about it. You can do anything, Captain Marvel, and without even trying. Like, you don't even have to worry.
If I were a YouTuber and this were a video, I would constantly reuse that clip of Thor in Endgame when he does the little hammer tap to Tony's. I would just replay. I had no idea that was going to work.
Right. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. But like that's what even like the Avengers does is Tony goes in for a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. It's like that's what you do with a character. Now, has it been done a million times? Yeah. Do I understand why the screenwriter might want to avoid that trope? Yes. Yeah. But then don't set it up so clearly. Like you can't set up a problem that ends up being no problem whatsoever. Like there's no drama to that. And that's my big point with this film is everything that's set up for drama is so quickly finished that it gives no point for conflict or drama at all. And the whole film is left feeling like, well, this is a problem for now, but it won't be in a second. And it's like solved too easily. It's a sitcom. It's 22 minutes and we're done. That's exactly what this film is. And there are other little things like, I think, in terms of structure and that sort of thing, like, I don't think that you use a flashback to an off-screen, like an in-between chapter story of the Supreme Intelligence. I think you start your film with that, with the end of this mission that resulted in the death of the Supreme Intelligence and the choice that Carol had to make. You start with that as a prologue. And so structure-wise, that I don't care for that. I think that you're shortchanging our main characters by one, like I said, having 3 protagonists rather than Carol being your protagonist, who gets the arc spurred on by the other 2 who also get mini arcs. But it's like the Incredibles, right? They all have an arc, but it is Mr. Incredible's arc. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what this should have been. It should have been Carol's story through and through, with the other 2 also having little mini arcs. And instead it kind of feels like they're all protagonists, and so kind of none of them are, but they all are. It's weird. So structure wise, that's weird for me. I think that you also shortchange your characters when you give so much screen time to this family, to Kamala's family, which again, I never saw Miss Marvel, so maybe there's more to those characters, but in this, there's really nothing there. I don't, other than comedic relief. Comedy, I don't think there's a need for them in the story. And in fact, even when you have the Flurkin sequence, like they don't even get swallowed up because you have to have them on screen, I guess. But I don't know why, like Nick Fury is okay with swallowing up all of his people, but not this family. Like, I'm going to use you to help me do this thing. Not I'm going to save you with the people I trust. That's weird. Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And this is an aside. I know you've already said you how you feel about this, so I'm not even going to discuss it. I'm just going to say that Flurkin sequence was bonkers, and I hated it. And then there's one other shot in this that I was like, are we in Power Rangers now? There's a shot where I think in the climax, the 3 leads are all using their powers simultaneously, and you get like this cut-in shape where they each have like part of the screen. It's like Carol doing something, Monica doing something. I think maybe they're all shooting their powers into Monica or something. And so you see all 3 of them at once in the split screen kind of deal. Oh, okay. I think I remember that. You remember that? It's like, it's literally like they come on screen, split screen, the way that the Power Rangers do when they're in the Megazords. Yeah. And I'm like, this is hilarious. I laughed out loud. I was like, that is one piece of hilarious filmmaking that betrays the cinematic language of this entire MCU franchise. The Flurkin sequence felt like something I would have seen in Guardians. It just, the musical choice wasn't something James Gunn would have picked. Yeah, sure. But I thought it was funny that we're going to sing a song from the musical Cats while these things that are not cats are eating everyone, and that's how we're going to save them. And is that from Cats? That's from Cats. See, I didn't even know that. Yeah, Memory is like the key song from Cats. Okay. And so like lost on me. So like
when they're all, I just like them being on the loudspeakers going, attention all staff, like please do not panic and let the flurkins eat you. I just thought that was such a bizarre, a bizarre line that,
well, I was just like,
they're running like Miss Marvel's running around like, I'm so sorry. And the staff is running in fear. I just thought that was, I could have pictured Rocket just running around with the cat like, hey, come here, you.
Yep. Well, so here's what I'll say about that. Okay. So I didn't like the Flurkins in the first movie.
I didn't either.
I think that's a weird thing.
I was like, it's a stupid name and this is a strange, weird power. And
yeah, it's a stupid, it's really a stupid name. And that's what it boils down to. But it's also like, for me, like that's clearly a writer going, it's a Flurkin. And then you're like, oh, okay. And that's what this scene felt like to me, beyond the coincidental factor of like, we have a thing to do. Oh, coincidentally, we just have a whole lot of cats here that weren't here 5 minutes ago, but they're here now. That's a good writer's coincidence. That the goose laid eggs or whatever.
I love that. I really thought it was a funny visual though, that like, what the hell even are these? Like these creepy eggs and just a kitten comes
just a kitten.
out.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, this is so fucking bizarre because
but
we're not used to seeing kittens hatch. That's just part of the for me, that was just the part of the charm of the sequence. It's like, this is just full of weird shit that I'm not used to seeing.
Sure. I think it just felt too ridery for me. Like for me, the what I mean when I say that is like, I can imagine writers sitting down in a room and going, okay, we've got this problem. We've got all these characters. We have to get them off safely. What do we do?
Yeah.
And somebody going, hey, well, the Flurkins can just eat people and then spit them back out and they're fine. And they're like, oh, you're right. And then I can just see like it becoming like an improv in the room of like, and then they just eat everybody and everyone's laughing about it and having a good time. Like, oh, that's really funny. But then you don't do anything with it, right? Like that's just an absurd idea. But instead they were like, dude, we're writing that. And so to me, it feels too writery. It's too perfect. That like at the end, right at the last second, Deus Ex Machina, here's a whole bunch of cats. They're all Flurkins. They're all going to eat these people. They're all going to spit them back out. They're all going to be fine. And we're going to do a really funny song choice over it. And like, it just felt so like, I understand, like it's James Gunn-esque.
Sure.
But it feels like we're trying really hard to be James Gunn-esque. And that was to me, the detractor. And I was like, okay. But yeah, man, I don't know. The movie felt really writery. The movie felt like I have to make things happen, so I'm just going to make up mumbo jumbo to make it happen. And it was devoid of logical consistency. And I also just think that like the plot contrivance of the switching, while that's a novel idea and would be really cool in theory, I don't think they ever made good on that. Like there's a couple of key sequences that utilize it, but never in a way that felt really clever. It was just like expected.
It was just a gimmick. And, and it was, it's one of those weird things. It's like, there's parts with it worked and parts that didn't. Like, I thought that all of the effects and staging and choreography around the switching was really well done. I really liked their little montage of like figuring out how to do it on purpose.
Sure.
But considering all the changes that we would make to this movie that don't have them as cohesive, I would have done something else. To speak one more time to that, actually, to them being so cohesive, do you think that we're going to get a lot of heat if we bring together 3 female leads and we have them at each other's throats? That's exactly what misogynists would want us to do. Sure. They would want, like, of course, like, and the feminists will come after us because we're having women fighting each other. Sure. And instead of agreeing and doing cool shit, but it's just like, but the problem remains, like, but if you don't have believable human drama, I mean, the movie still passes the Bechdel test. Everything that we're arguing about is either plainly in front of us or related to another female character. So it's like, that's at least my reading of it. I feel like someone said like, we need to have them on the same page pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So they can fight this other one.
I'm all, I'm all for the idea of, girls supporting girls, right? Like you do want that. You do want you know, you do want those characters to support one another and be friends. And like, you know, there's that sequence where Carol is like, I guess I'm going to have to, maybe it's the one where Monica's like, you have to restart the sun or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like, Carol's at her lowest there, and they all like hug her, you know, and it's like, that's great. Like, that's fine. And clearly, like, we all want to see women being supported by other women. But I think that getting there by the end of the story is good enough. If you're there consistently, like from the beginning, then there is no drama, because the nature of drama is conflict, and the nature of conflict is disagreement. And if you don't have disagreement, like I remember when we were in film school, being told by a professor that every scene you do must contain a conflict. There have to be in every scene two people with differing viewpoints. Now, is that true? I don't know. I haven't put that to the test. I haven't watched a film with that in mind, but I remember that lesson, and it's always stuck with me that like, if there's a film that feels inherently non-dramatic, it's probably because there's not enough, either you haven't done the legwork to allow the audience to understand the frame of mind that each character is in, and therefore how they would differ with one another, or you don't even have them differing with one another in the first place. Yeah. And so, you know, if you look at like, this is down to like sitcom writing, you have to always have conflict in every scene. Like, look at The Office, right? They're always, every time Michael says something definitively, Jim has to say the opposite. Or if Jim and Dwight can't be in agreement, right? But you have to have conflict, because that's the nature of it. Two people who love and care for one another and support one another will find conflict. And to ignore that and say, nope, they're always friends and always supportive is just not true. Right. We all know that. Yeah. And we know that because we've been in arguments with our significant others, and we've been in arguments with our parents, and we've been in arguments with our siblings, and we've been in arguments with everybody who's ever been close to us. And yet we're still close to them. Yeah. Right. Yet we still care for them. Yet we still love them. Like that's how things go, and that's life. And if you remove that, then you're not depicting life anymore. And so I get it. I understand the mentality of not wanting to cross into the, you know, the area of making it seem like these characters are catty or mean girls. You don't want that. Yeah. But you do want conflict, because you have to have conflict, because you chose to write a movie. That's the game. That's the game. You're right. Like I think that maybe it's just a preemptive move by the powers that be to say, we don't want people to have to sit in the discomfort of these characters having conflict for too long. Sure. Like you're right. Like it should just be enough for it to happen by the end of the movie. But I guess if you're Disney or whoever, you're just like, I don't know. Yeah. Making them wait for a whole movie for a resolution seems kind of weird, right? No, that's what movies are. You wait for a resolution. Yeah. That's why you're here. Towards a resolution. Yeah. That's it. That's exactly what a film is. Don't leave. Yeah. If you don't want to tell a story, stay where you are. If you don't want to tell a story that requires, you know, a resolution, then don't tell a story. Yeah. I'm trying to find in my brain other stories that are, you know, women and in the key roles. It's all women, right? And Little Women. Sure, Little Women, right? Yeah. But there is always a familial love between these characters, but there is nothing but conflict. Right. This is the idea. Let's just look at Barbie. Yeah. Barbie is the biggest film that came out this year, bar none. Mm-hmm. And The Marvels is the smallest movie that came out this year by bar none. Boom, shots fired. Barbie features women supporting women, does it not? Yes. Yes. There's a whole thing about Barbie and America Ferrera and the weird Barbie and all, like they're all in support of one another, right? Yep. But there has to be conflict earlier in the film in order for there to be a satisfying catharsis when they come together.
Yep.
Barbie has to be weirded out by Weird Barbie in the beginning to make that like we're going to work together work. America Ferrera has to, I don't know that there's a lot of conflict between her and Barbie, but she's skeptical.
She has to be skeptical a little bit of her existence. Her daughter doesn't like Barbie when she sees her.
Right.
Yeah.
But so that's three characters right there. It's America Ferrera, the daughter, and Barbie, and they spend the majority of the film like it's the three of them, and in the meat of the film, and there is a conflict. There's a conflict between the daughter and Barbie, a conflict between the daughter and the mother, a conflict sort of between the mother and Barbie a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a triangle of conflict. And that's the only way that movie works is that they work towards overcoming that. And at the end, the daughter feels closer to her mother and okay with Barbie.
Yeah.
And she wasn't when it began. That's the only way you can do that. Now, this has the built-in premise of Kamala Khan is automatically a fan of Carol.
Yeah.
Automatically on her side. That's why you have to rip her away.
Yep.
And then bring her back.
That's what she needs to learn.
Is not to be a blind fan.
Yeah.
But to realize like your heroes are people too.
Yeah.
And they will make mistakes, and give them grace and give them, the ability to be human, but also like hold them to a higher standard.
Hold them accountable. You're allowed to hold your heroes to accountability.
Correct. You have to.
Yeah.
And that's what we all have to do. I've got all these movies on my shelves, and how many of them were made by sex perverts?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that's what you have to do. Like you can't just say these are my heroes, because everyone has a caveat.
Yeah. You have to say, I like these films.
And the people that made them are flawed. That's what you have to do.
Even the ones directed by Bryan Singer. Like Valkyrie is so good.
Great. Usual Suspects. Great movie.
Bryan Singer is so bad.
So bad. so bad.
So bad in his heart.
LA Confidential. Great movie. Kevin Spacey. Terrible person.
Again, Usual Suspects.
Great. Terrible person.
I enjoyed the film on its entertainment merits, but yeah, when you really sit and look at it for a while and you break story on it, there's just so many ways it could have been a lot better, and even like timely and for the moment or whatever. With I just feel like there was a very 2024, 2023 like arc that you could have had with all of these characters that you were perfectly positioned to have, and that they're all women, they're all of different ethnic cultural backgrounds, and you have like it's almost like they were teed up to have a good arc. Like you said, you have one character who idolizes the other. You have one character who used to idolize the other one. And you have a character who
makes a mistake,
and is having a crisis of confidence, basically.
Yes. Yep.
And has to deal with it, and which is appropriate for a character that is extremely powerful. To have their biggest enemy be their own confidence, I think that
the way you just explained that is such a good story.
I know. It makes me mad.
It's exactly that. It's Captain Marvel with the angel and the devil on her shoulders.
Yeah.
One who's skeptical of her and one who loves her.
Yeah. But has no concept of why she loves her, or if she, or is about to find out that she shouldn't love her as much as she does.
Exactly. You could play that up in so many ways for comedy and for drama, to have her like posturing in front of Kamala.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm so, I am great. I am great. And then as soon as and then Monica walks by and goes, yeah, except for you're not. And then it's like, oh, right. Oh. And it's like that's such a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That ain't what this movie is.
You know what's crazy is the first movie, part of what annoyed me about the first movie, about Captain Marvel, was that the insistence that it was excellent And that if you didn't think so, you were just stupid or you were a misogynist or sexist or whatever. And I think part of that was, oh, well, of course you're going to call the first Marvel movie with a woman in it bad when the movies are otherwise excellent. It's because at the time they were all excellent. But I think one thing that lent to those people's claims was that the movie made a lot of money. The movie made $1 billion. And it was a very important milestone for women in film to be able to see like, hey, a movie that's, you know, we have a female lead can in this genre can make money.
Yeah.
And that just didn't happen this time. If this film had also made $1 billion, we'd be sitting here talking about how, well, it looks like you don't have to make that good of a movie. You just have to, but it's really good that people will come see a movie with women in it, directed by a woman.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess it doesn't have to be that great of a movie. That's what we'd be saying.
Right.
Was merely casting and centering the film on women is enough to make people rich.
Yep.
It's a little fucked up and cynical, but hey, that's also good. It's better than that not happening.
Sure.
But we're looking at this and it's like the movie didn't even break even.
No.
It's the worst performing of the MCU films.
Correct.
Which is for its 33rd film. I mean, financially for Marvel, this is rock bottom.
Yeah.
This is like, oh shit, like we've never had a more poorly, and this is late 2023. This wasn't during the pandemic. This was, I mean, I feel like even if they released this at the same time as Black Widow, I feel like Black Widow still would have outperformed it.
Yes.
And I don't know why no one saw this.
I think there's a few reasons. One, it's Marvel fatigue. I'm not even going to say superhero fatigue, although I do think that's a thing. But I think that people are tired of Marvel. I think that Guardians of the Galaxy ended it for a lot of people. Like that's all I needed to see.
It's
I'm
closed
done.
Up. Right. Exactly.
It's closed off. I think it also was just, look, we've had a lot of strings of failures, like a long string of failures. Guardians notwithstanding, because it was, a little more creator driven than all these other ones, but like a long strand. And I think that people just weren't interested. I think that Brie Larson put a lot of people off of the film. And I'm not going to say whether those people are right or wrong. I'm just going to say that the way she handled a lot of things turned some people off. And I think that the idea of having people think, okay, well, I have to watch Miss Marvel first. And we know that wasn't a very well viewed show on Disney Plus. So I think there's at least some people who are like, well, I'm not going to see it because I never saw that.
Who the hell are these people?
Yeah. Who I don't know who that is.
Who
are these people? So there's that. But I also think that it's a direct sequel to a film that made a lot of money, but no one really seemed to love. And so I think that, you lump all these together and it just wasn't the right time. It just wasn't the right place. And that sucks because like, I like Brie Larson. I think she's a great actress, and, Room is one of my favorite movies that she's been in, and she's fantastic in it. She's not a bad actress. It sucks because she got saddled with this story that I think kind of rested on the idea of it just being about a woman, not realizing that we do have to do the legwork to make that matter.
Yeah.
And I think a good comparison of this is Barbie, right? But because it came out the same year as Barbie, it was, both of them are written and directed by women, and starring women, and in the main lead roles. You just see in the two. Now, granted, like the Marvels carries with it the baggage of the MCU in terms of like style and story and that kind of thing. Whereas the Barbie movie was a little freer with that. But just in terms of story, just in terms of, how do we do our characters? Barbie at least was a story about a character who it followed the screenwriting rules, right? It was, here's your character as they begin, inciting incident happens, forces them into an unknown territory. They go on a journey to discover themselves and come back to the world that they left having changed. This is like the hero's journey. They gave Barbie a hero's journey. And this film couldn't be bothered, or maybe worst case scenario, like you said, was mandated not to give Carol issues to work through, not to give these people conflict. But it didn't. And so you cannot ever have a film with emotional resonance or catharsis or importance without allowing a character to grow, change, learn, and be better, and make mistakes, and, rub people the wrong way. And
for a little bit at least.
Yeah. If you can't, if you don't do that, you will never tell a story with emotional resonance. You have to, we're forgetting about all the films and all the stories that are told where characters start as not friends and become friends, and why those are important things. It's because we watched something blossom, and we were encouraged and learned and grew with the characters. And we understood why Legolas and Gimli would hate each other, but then their friendship means so much more at the end because we know where they started. That's where this should have been. We perfectly set up the idea that Monica and Carol are not going to be cool with each other. And then we just lose it. And so you automatically lose all impact of them reconciling, and you automatically lose the impact of Monica's sacrifice, whether that was necessary or not, story-wise, whatever, but you lose the impact of that. Because imagine Carol now carrying on, knowing I didn't go check in on her because I was too scared, and now I lost the opportunity to.
Yeah.
The weight of that would be so much more significant if they had spent the whole film arguing and at each other's throats, only to eventually, rekindle, reconcile right before a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Then the sacrifice becomes emotionally resonant because we realize what they're losing, which is a friendship.
Right. We spent this whole reunion bickering.
Yes.
Not realize that, because we thought we had the luxury of time to bicker and work on our shit.
Yep.
And now we didn't even have that.
Right. And this burgeoning friendship, this new relationship that we've rekindled, gone. Right. It's sad, and it's emotional, and it's life. And we lose it.
Disney CEO Bob Iger also attributed the film's failure to the large amount of MCU content that Disney had produced for its streaming service, but he added that insufficient day-to-day supervision by Disney executives during production was partially to blame as well.
I don't think that more executives would make this a better movie.
No. Multiple commentators took issue with this statement, with some pointing out that Marvel is known for having a lot of executive oversight on all of their projects. Others felt Iger was wrongfully putting all of the blame on DaCosta, and noted several instances where DaCosta had appeared to be unfairly targeted by Disney before Iger's comments. Gizmodo's James Whitbrook said the studio's increasingly public critiques of DaCosta are just starting to feel weird, and he noted that The Marvels was not Disney's only 2023 film to fail at the box office. Geez, I wonder what that's all about. Yeah, what is Disney? There's a whole... Yeah, there's an article on Gizmodo. The title is, "Damn, what does Disney have against Nia DaCosta?" Yeah, this was after. Yeah, that was James Whitbrook's article. It's to start earlier this month, just as The Marvels was preparing to release, when the damning report from Variety about the struggles the MCU is facing. I remember when we talked about that article. In both the terms of the waning critical and commercial response, included a bizarre aside that while discussing the uphill battle the movie faced at the box office, saw an undisclosed source take a shot at DaCosta for concluding production on the movie remotely as she moved to London to set up her delayed follow-up project, Hedda, with Tessa Thompson. The quote is, "If you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go," the close to the production source told the trade, sparking a wave of criticism of the framing of this information, itself a pretty standard practice for directors balancing multiple projects at once. It even led to DaCosta herself having to address the allegation that her move raised eyebrows at Marvel during the Marvel's press tour, citing, "Get away, KFC ad," citing that it was Marvel's repeated shuffling of their own movie that eventually forced her hand. I totally buy that because they kept pushing the release date.
They did.
And screwing stuff up. Yeah. Particular airing of the dirty laundry through sources talking to Hollywood media's biggest trades is nothing new or unique to Disney and Marvel, but the practice continued even after the Marvels came out. A few weeks later, the Hollywood Reporter published a piece salaciously framed as accusing DaCosta of having bailed out on a cast and crew screening of the Marvels, only to reveal in its own reporting that DaCosta had not only not been invited to the screening, but her absence from it was because she was celebrating her birthday on the same day. The piece likewise sparked a round of criticism and a response from DaCosta's representatives, who told the Hollywood Reporter it would be quite disrespectful and upsetting to suggest Nia has anything other than adoration for her creative team. Bob Iger is being weird, man. Bob Iger used to be cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but he's not so cool now.
I think it's a lot of losses for the Mouse House, and they're just trying to, I don't know, do something. But
did he fire his winning personality when he laid off all those people?
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with that. I think, I guess you could say we're in conflict. We have drama. I disagree with it because I think that more executives aren't going to make the story better because they hire screenwriters to make the story better. If they had notes, they should have been addressed prior to filming.
Plus, if you're going to push back the fucking release date like 3 times, don't you have all the time in the world to do I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Were there reshoots? Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe the saturation of Disney Plus content fed into it. Like I said, like people feeling like they had to watch Miss Marvel before they saw this. Maybe I could see that. But it almost seems like what the article was saying was like, because there's so much to watch, people don't want to go see the Marvels. And I don't agree with that. Like there's a plethora of stuff to watch for sure, but I don't know that that's impacting what people choose to go to the theater and watch. I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe people are being more selective because there's more options, but I don't buy that either because I don't know. I just think that the main reason is enough people hadn't seen or weren't excited about Miss Marvel. Enough people were not excited about Captain Marvel. And we're coming off a string of things that aren't great for Marvel.
And
that's about it.
That's the thing. Like the general population does not know or care who directs these films. So it's got nothing to do with Nia DaCosta. I saw
nobody was going, I heard she left production.
Yeah.
I ain't seeing this movie.
That's unprofessional.
That's just unprofessional. I ain't going to give him my $12.50.
Nope. I wasn't that big of a fan of Candyman neither.
When we went over and dug up that septic tank over there, I stayed till the very end because I know how business is run. Now, if you don't stay to the end of your own movie, you belong in the septic tank.
Down there in the poop. There's been too many of these that are just okay or worse. And I just think it was, I think it was the 33rd film and that's what happens. Yeah. And it didn't look like that fun or interesting of a story. You didn't have a fun, what would have helped is what they did with Love and Thunder, which was, oh, holy shit, Christian Bale's the villain. Like you should have had a big name as the villain. Anytime you cast a villain,
should have been
at
Meryl
this
Streep.
Point in this MCU, you should just be getting big name actors who want a chance to play a villain. There wasn't enough of a why. Like,
sure,
if you had been watching everything, you've already seen these 3 as their characters. There's no surprise waiting for you. So the surprise is, oh, Meryl Streep's the villain. Hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
You know, that's something big, but it's just like, I don't know who this person is. I don't even know which character she is.
Right.
Like,
or you do a well-known villain. Like this is the first film that introduces Dr. Doom or whatever. Like that's what they tried with Ant-Man Quantumania. It's like, well, this is Kang. Yeah. And so why did people go see Ant-Man Quantumania? Yeah. Partially because people like Ant-Man, but because everyone was told like we have to go see it because Kang, like this Kang is the thing, and
Kang is the thing.
I don't know why that became Jerry Seinfeld. Kang is the thing.
Kang is the thing. Kramer.
Whoa, but he's a bad person, Jerry.
Jerry. Doing bad things.
Like I don't know that I ever really watched any of the trailers. Maybe I did, but yeah, there wasn't like a big grabber of like, oh, this is going to be important to the main story or whatever. Because you think about all the big hits before, Black Panther was a huge hit because we're coming off of his role and we all in Civil War and we all want more, right? And we love this actor and we just want more. And oh, Michael B. Jordan's in it. Oh,
yeah.
Like it's like this whole big thing. Like we have to go see this movie.
Yeah.
Obviously the Avengers movies are like the next Avengers movies. So we're all going to see those. But like even later in the game, when you started to have solo movies for other characters, like, you know, I mean, let's just go all the way to Black Widow.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see this because we like Scarlett Johansson in the role.
Yeah.
Like there's a why there. And we want to see more about her backstory. Like I think that was the why.
There's also, and we've got Florence Pugh is in here and Florence Pugh's on a hot streak. And so this would be cool to see her. And, we got Red Guardian. Everyone loves David Harbour. There's Rachel Weisz. That's pretty cool. You know, there's multiple to me, like you have to have multiple reasons to come see a movie. Like a movie like Dune. Okay, people like this book, but it's like, for film people,
look at
like,
the cast.
Denis Villeneuve is the director. Wow, Timothée Chalamet. We love Timothée Chalamet. Look at Oscar Isaac's beard, and Rebecca Ferguson is good. And then you see that trailer, and you're like, it looks great. It looks like it's going to be great. You know?
Yeah. I don't want to get the Dune popcorn bucket.
When you look at the Marvels, you look at that trailer, and you're like, all right, they're playing Intergalactic. Okay, cool. You know. But you're just like, you're gonna have all these characters together, but you already knew you were gonna have them because you read the trades or whatever. Like, I don't think anyone who is watching the shows is unaware that these three are gonna show up in a movie together. Yeah, I think the general audience who doesn't know they're showing up doesn't know who they are. Yeah, the general audience who just goes to movies probably isn't watching the shows.
Right.
So it's like, who is this for? So for me, you've got to have that last element. You've got to have a big name as the villain. Like this Deadpool movie. I don't know that there is a villain specifically or what.
Yep.
I would hope that if there is, somebody interesting is playing him.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems I had with the first Deadpool. The villain is just some fucking dude. I didn't recognize the actor. I don't think he was that big of an actor.
Yeah.
But I'm learning through this conversation that that's really important for me.
Sure.
Is that the villain is either memorable. Like I don't have to know. I think the first thing I may have seen Bill Nye in may have been Pirates 2.
Yeah.
Maybe, may have. The point is he's so fucking good that I was like, I'll never forget this actor.
Yep.
And every time I see him now, I'm like, oh, this guy's the best. He's so good.
Yep.
But the first guy in Deadpool was just like, he's just a villain. Like maybe he's a little casual, so he's not like a stock villain.
Sure.
I didn't really care for Cable either in Deadpool 2, but at least it's Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
You know, at least you're like, I like Josh Brolin. This ought to be somewhat good.
Right.
The point being that matters, especially as you go deeper into a franchise and you already know all the other actors. Even if you like them, even if you love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, it still matters when you go, but Christian Bale, now we're going to see what he's like on screen with Christian Bale. Like there's got to be something new.
And it's the return of Natalie Portman and we're doing the cancer arc. Whoa. Yeah.
It can't just be the continued adventures of this character you've seen before because people are getting sick of that.
Yep.
And you've got to give them multiple reasons.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
Again, to talk about Deadpool, multiple reasins. Deadpool's in the MCU now. It's going to be inherently different. Hugh Jackman's coming back as Wolverine. That's pretty cool. We've got the TVA involved. That's pretty cool. Like there's reasons to see Deadpool. There's reasons for an audience to pay to pay for tickets.
Is back.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I thought it was Will Forte at first. It was such a quick thing.
Yeah, the point is like, you've got to have multiple reasons. So
yeah, for sure.
While I think the leads are all really good in this movie and they have chemistry, considering what it could have and should have been, it is a little disappointing. And they need to fix that. You know, beyond Deadpool, I don't even know what the film for Deadpool is. Because there's like nothing else going on. Like it doesn't even matter this episode's coming out in March because there's like nothing else going on until Deadpool.
Yeah. Well,
which just finished shooting like a week, 10 days ago or some shit. Like,
yeah. Well, what sucks too is I heard Brie Larson wants out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Following the disaster of this box office, she's like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Which I can't blame her.
No, I don't blame her. I just I'm surprised that is known.
Yeah, it just sucks because it's one of those things where you can fact check me, but I read it. I don't know how true it is, but I do think a large portion of the vocal detractors for this film aren't doing so because we don't want a female-led film or we don't want women to be in movies. We just want good stories. And I think that as you and I have discussed, there was multiple opportunities for this to be a really good return to form for Marvel and could have been one of their better things. It's a great setup with great performers. It just didn't work out. And that sucks because I think I'll speak for myself here. There's nothing I want more than to watch a movie and feel like that was a really good use of my time. And I really want to see that again. And that's what I want when I go see a movie. I don't want to come on here and trash a movie. I want to love it. What sucks about this is you and I can see where this would have been really good.
I read that apparently in October she sort of talked about how she was becoming disillusioned with playing the character, but that was before the film came out. But that probably didn't help. I mean, that was like late October, like a month before the movie.
Yeah.
I don't blame her. I mean, because there's a fair amount of criticism of Brie Larson, like we said, that is completely unjustified. It's just toxic fandom.
Yep.
So I can see if she feels disillusioned. I always thought it was weird too that, I mean, they announced in 2016 her casting.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, when's her movie coming out? It's like 2019. It's like, why are we hearing about this?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, is she going to like pop into, are they going to seed her in some stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they need to shoot they need to start shooting now.
Yeah.
Nope. Didn't see her for 3 years.
Well, this is like James Gunn just announced the casting for Supergirl, and somebody was like, asked him about, her role in Superman Legacy. And he was like, I never said she was in Superman Legacy. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's like, well, if she's not, then why are you announcing casting for a movie that's like 5 years out? And then like even Matthew Vaughn came out and was like, yeah, he shouldn't be doing that anyway, because if she's not in Superman Legacy, then he has no reason to cast her. A director should cast her. And I don't disagree, but that's not like Marvel does that too. Like it's not weird for the highest executive to cast somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it probably technically should be the director of the first film she's in that would do that. But anyway, yeah. So same thing there. It's like, this is like 5 years out. Why are we hearing about this casting?
Right. And I feel like, it's been 8 years since she's been cast.
Yeah.
And I just feel like for her, it's like, Jesus, like this has been just a long time. This has been a thing I have to do. And I've personally never gotten the impression that she really loves this character either.
Yeah.
Not to say that she doesn't, but if you're, when she say I'm disillusioned by playing the character, I buy that because
I do too.
That's what I perceive when I see her talk about it or not talk about it. But I feel bad that you don't like to hear that because you want to feel like you said, like the person wants to be here.
Yeah. Well, she's smart and she probably identified the same issues that we're identifying right now.
She must have
in pre-production. And at that point, you mention what you can, you influence what you can, and then it's out of your hands. Like if they don't want to shoot what your idea was, then you're still got to do it. And if they did shoot it and then edited it out, but you don't have final cut. So, it's one of those things I can imagine. Like I imagine even if you're making decent movies with Marvel it's probably easy to get disillusioned because you come in, you do your thing. Granted, most of your appearances, I mean, look at like Don Cheadle. Most of your appearances are going to be in like quick little blips. You're on set for a week and that's it, or a day. You come in, you do your thing. It's Falcon and Winter Soldier. You did your thing in a day, and it's not fulfilling work. It's just a paycheck, and it's with the intention that one day your talents may be utilized in a greater way.
Right.
Right. And you may be, challenged down the road. But for now, it is what it is. And you come in, you do your 4 lines, you get out. And that's kind of how Brie Larson's been.
Yeah.
Like you think about, she did Captain Marvel, but then after that, it's like, come in, do your thing. You're probably on in game for a few weeks. But
they
not nearly as long as everybody else.
They actually shot all that before Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Which was part of like the confusion around her characterization, was like she wasn't even building the character with the directors of the film. Like she was, that's part of why this character kind of got off on the wrong foot. Like first of all, I believe she was cast by Kevin Feige. Then she, the character was sort of built with her and the Russos. And then it was like, now let's do your origin story with these fucking weirdos, these two yahoos.
Yeah.
The people who directed Half Nelson.
Sure.
And all right, good luck,
Right.
By then it's like, everything's backwards.
Yeah. And then since then it's just like a one-off in Shang-Chi or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like quick little things in and out. And so it's not fulfilling work. And then when you finally get the chance to do something that might be really fulfilling.
Yeah, like this one.
If it's not, then that really sucks because this is what I've been waiting on.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's what it was. Like for her, it was just like after this, like I'm assuming like, she likes the director, and it's just like, even after all of those things, it still wasn't what it needed to be. It wasn't fine. It didn't financially
scratch the itch.
Yeah, it didn't scratch the itch, and it's not creatively what it should have been. And I understand if she doesn't want to hang around for 7-8 more years and keep playing this character if no one's going to shepherd the character the right way. But you break eggs, like stuff like Brie Larson saying, "Hey, look, I will not going to come back for any amount of money."
Yeah.
First of all, y'all should have secured that way in advance. So you're stupid. Yep. Secondly, like you're creatively bankrupt. I'm not going to participate. Stuff like that is what would have to happen for Marvel to go, all right, look, we're fucking up. Like Brie Larson doesn't want to come back, and we have not sunsetted her character. What do we do?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's what happens. Like if you're going to keep it, if you're not going to kill anybody, you need to keep your actors happy.
Yep, for sure.
And at the end of this film, not only is she still alive, she is not in any more position of leadership than she was before. We're talking about who should be leading the MCU. It should be Captain Marvel. She ends the film just kind of the same.
Yeah, right.
She's not in charge of anything. Just talking to somebody.
Yep.
What are they even doing? Like, what are they doing with Maria's house? Is she going to live there?
Right.
Who bought the house? Did Carol buy a house?
I don't know.
She going to live in Louisiana?
I guess so. Same with Sam Wilson. They're going to be neighbors.
Yeah. That'd be so funny to realize they're on the other side of the fence from each other.
I guess
Sam?
eventually,
shit!
The next Avengers movie is going to be set in Louisiana, and it's just Louisiana's the new thing, the new New York.
Exactly. They're you really get a lot for your money down here.
That's right. Is it weird? I don't know enough about the behind the scenes of all this. Is it weird that she's not a producer on this film?
I don't know that that's weird.
Okay,
but I feel like
because ScarJo was on
Black Widow.
Wasn't she?
She was. She's the one who hired Kate Shortland. Like she was like an executive producer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's at the same time I go like, okay, well, is Anthony Mackie a producer on Captain America?
I guess not.
But the thing is, but Tom Hiddleston is an executive producer on Loki.
Like, right, and that's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
It's like, Are we moving more towards that?
Samuel L. Jackson was an executive producer on Secret Invasion. Of course, a lot of good did that show, but it remains a fact.
Right, sure.
I don't know. And I feel like if you are Brie Larson and you want some ownership over this, then that's what you do. And either she wasn't interested or she wasn't able to negotiate it or what else. But that's something I thought of, like, okay, like if assuming Brie Larson is a smart, creative person, that's absolutely what you do. So you can actually say, hey, let's do another round on this script. Like there's a lot of shit missing.
Yeah, for sure.
There's not enough here. I'll go out on a limb. Maybe that's considering that a lot of her projects before this were smaller. I mean, she won an Oscar for an independent movie. Like maybe because on smaller productions, actors have more say. And maybe when you get into a big machine like Disney or Marvel, like, hey, bro, you're just the actor. Like,
come into your thing. Yeah.
Unless there's some financial reason I should listen to you, I'm not going to listen to you. I got too many bosses already.
Yep.
Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, and they've got like 6 executive producers for some reason. Like, I don't have time to listen to your problems or your input.
Yep.
But if it's like, yeah, well, hi, I'm Tom Hiddleston. I'm also the executive producer. You go, oh, Mr. Hiddleston.
Yeah, right.
You know, or I'm Robert Downey Jr. Like, there's people who are the exception, but those people are mostly going to keep their autonomy to what they do in the moment on that take. Downey Jr. is not looking at the script and telling them to make changes. That's Edward Norton, you know?
Right.
I think that's what you have to do to be taken seriously if you want to be an actor involved in story.
Sure.
But historically, Marvel doesn't like that. I mean, I
think Hemsworth was on Love and Thunder. But yeah, I mean, maybe you just have to work up to that. And maybe she's just not at that level where she's being invited into that role. Yeah, I'm with you. Like if it were me, I would want to have some say in this.
Yeah.
And maybe she does, but they're gatekeeping it.
If you're going to spend this much of your time being changed to this brand and this character, you should at least jockey for as much control of it as you can.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
Being cast in the role like this, that's an amazing opportunity, more than you're ever going to get, to be like, hey, this is like my life. And if you want me to be associated with this IP for as long as you want me to, not only are you going to have to pay me out the ass for this contract to act, I want an executive producer credit. I want some creative say so. I want at least to be included in discussions on the front end of production. I don't want to just be handed a script and told this is what I'm going to do in this show or this movie. I want to have a percentage of influence on this. I don't need final cut or anything, but I want to be able to look at the script and say, oh, I have some questions before we move forward. Can we have some meetings, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not too much to ask. And I just think it makes a world of difference to the right person. Like Margot Robbie is someone who's doing, to bring up Barbie again, Margot Robbie is someone who's doing that now. And, you know, more and more actors who are not becoming brands or selling tequila are just starting their own production companies and producing their own projects. And it's like, this just seems to be what it is, mostly, especially women. And that just seems to be what you have to do to make the stuff you want to make and have control over it. Is just like, shit, I have to like start a company. You know?
Yep, for sure.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. Well, cool. What am I doing next week? All right. Next week, apparently what I've got scheduled is some horror films. So
okay.
You guys enjoy that.
Hey.
All right, everyone. Well, the next time you hear me talk, I will be less sickly.
That's good to hear.
But no less sick in the head.
In the head. And the heart.
And the heart.